As many of you have heard, tonight we have a speaker from Tsawwassen Nation. Valerie Cross Blackett is a granddaughter of Isaac Williams, who was formerly chief of Tsawwassen, and Pearl Williams, who was born Pearl White, from the Squamish Nation. As manager of government services for Tsawwassen First Nation, Valerie is very familiar with all the areas of government services, and because she was also assistant treaty negotiator and acting director of lands, also knows a lot about what we'll be dealing with over the next few years as we negotiate a final agreement. Prior to her role in government, Valerie was employed in the education, retail, technical, and business sectors. Valerie was very involved in negotiating all aspects of the implementation plan, and in April of this year, celebrated treaty implementation 2 years after formal ratification of their treaty. Valerie supports many areas of operation on behalf of the Tsawwassen First Nation, including the legislature, executive council, advisory council, and chief administrator's office. Please welcome Valerie as she speaks to you about First Nations government and opportunities in the public sector.
Wow, this is just wonderful to see so many people interested in supporting the initiatives that you're embarking on. I've got lots to share. I'm really excited about what Tsawwassen is involved in. I'm really excited in what you're involved in. However, I have a fixed amount of time. I feel dinner looming. I've got so much to say, so I'm going to try and condense what I have to say so that you can get the most value. First, I'd like to welcome elders, chiefs, family, friends, and youth for coming to this event. I'd also like to thank the Cowichan people for welcoming me into their territory, and I'd like to thank Tumuk Treaty Association for asking Tsawwassen to come in and share their experiences. I could really make this a little bit longer, or I could make this really short, because everything that I have in my speech, Wilson really captured about opportunities that are a result of treaty, and what type of education and things you should be looking forward to. But since I did go to the effort of making this speech, I think I'll try and highlight a few points that maybe Wilson didn't cover. Before I begin, though, I want to take a minute to honor Nelson Leeson, a true leader of the cause of First Nations governance in BC. I was honored with a number of opportunities to meet him, and found out that he had fished up north with both my uncles. There's a special feeling that happens when you meet someone who shared the life of the loved ones that you've lost. I cherish those moments, and I cherish him. At the time of his passing last week, Nelson was president of the Nisga'a Nation. And for many years before, he was one of the key players in the long, ultimately successful Nisga'a Treaty Initiative that forced BC to recognize Aboriginal title and rights all over the province. Right up until his passing, Nelson was a leader and innovator, and was one of the group of Nisga'a visionaries who truly transformed the political landscape in British Columbia. The work he started and the people he inspired will continue long after his passing. There is no way that the Tsawwassen First Nation would be in the position that we are in today without Nelson's untiring leadership. My hands go up to Nelson's family and to the Nisga'a Nation as they remember and honor his life. As mentioned by Beverly, I am from the Tsawwassen First Nation. Not only am I a staff member, but I'm also a band member. I guess I don't need to say band anymore. Tsawwassen's under treaty. I'm a Tsawwassen First Nation. I'm Coast Salish Indian. My mother is from Tsawwassen and my father was non-native. I was raised on the reserve until I was about 10 years old. My grandfather was chief, my Uncle Russell was chief, my Uncle Benny was chief. And as I go through my different experiences working in the treaty process with the Tsawwassen First Nation, I'm finding many people that have worked with my uncles and in their efforts to make a change in our lives under the Indian Act, to right the wrongs that were made. And I only hope that the work that I'm doing now is the legacy that my grandfather and my uncles were hoping that we would accomplish by releasing our people from the Indian Act and moving to a treaty self-governing nation. Although I no longer live on the Tsawwassen Reserve, I live in North Delta. Tsawwassen First Nation is my home, and it will always be no matter where I live. And even though I'm fair-skinned, I consider myself an Indian, and I am very, very proud of my heritage and my people. Growing up on the reserve, I did not understand the many challenges that my grandparents faced as Indians. Now that I'm a little older and a little more exposed and maybe a little bit wiser. I don't really like the older part, but I have to accept that. Things have become more clear to me. And it's from a love of my people, it's a love of my grandparents, a love of my ancestors, that I switched from working in the corporate world, where I had a lot of experience that I had to gain before I could come back home to my people and share my experience and my work experience and my education and my knowledge with them, so I could help me and my staff and my people work towards the treaty and give the tools that we needed to help implement and be where we are now. I have to mention that Uncle Russell had just recently passed away in February, and he was a great leader in our community for providing leadership for treaty and what had happened to us and where we needed to be. But he did say some words that we needed to, even though I was pro-treaty and I was all excited about making change, he said, "I'm afraid our people aren't ready for self-governance. I'm afraid, that we're going to fail. But we cannot stay under the Indian Act anymore. We have to be brave enough. We've got to move forward, and we have to make those changes." And unfortunately, he never got to see effective date, but I know that he is proud of us, and I know that he's proud that we're persevering, and I know that he's proud for all the things that we were doing now to implement our treaty. And I'd like to encourage you as you're moving through your treaty process. It's okay to have the fear. It's also okay to have the courage. So I wish you much courage as you go through your journey in moving through the treaty process. I've been working for Tsawwassen for the last 7 years, and as Beverly mentioned, I've had a diverse number of roles, and I think that those different roles have allowed me to be good at what I do now in Tsawwassen. It's given me the experience and the exposure that I can turn into an asset in the Government Services Department. This department is brand new. It was put into place on effective date, and it was put in place to ensure the successful implementation of our new governance structures. We have provided other departments support and services. We help organize community consultations to our members, and recently organized our first non-Indian Act election under our treaty. And it was good to be in control of how we wanted to manage our elected officials and the processes that we wanted to follow. Given that I work in a new department, I'm someone who's been fortunate enough to take advantage of one of the new opportunities resulting under treaty. In a sense, I feel that I'm uniquely qualified here to speak on this. Although I don't want to brag or anything, I just think that we have the tools now to bring ourselves into a self-governing nation and to be able to have a treaty that allows us to have our own government services department, that we can start setting the rules about how we want to govern our people.